welcome to our ARE Success Sessions. Darwin Fortuna here, and I'm joined here with Chris Vijalta, who just passed, actually, not just, but passed all of his AREs. And we're going to learn more about how he did it, what he did, how he went about it, his process. Of course, he's going to introduce himself too and tell us more about who he is. We have members of the class, a new one, Safa, who's joining us with a great picture here too. And we have Albelis, who's been a diehard member of the group from the beginning and only has 3 more to go. And we're going to change that soon. So, Chris, with that being said, tell me a little bit about you, background, little story, the general, even how you got into architecture.
Yeah, okay. I'm actually getting in pretty late compared to most people. Um, I graduated high school in 2003 and I joined the military. I actually got into an art school after high school, but I didn't know how to transition. I was in Florida at the time. I didn't know how to transition to Ringling School of Art and Design in Sarasota. So what I did was I joined the military, and I used the military to be able to leave my living conditions as well as basically pay for my school and like support myself. So did that with the military for about 10 years in the Army infantry, and then found my way back working in like more like outside of the military. I actually moved to Massachusetts for a job in the military to teach Army officer candidates at WPI in Fitchburg State. And long ways from Miami, very different from Miami. I actually went to undergrad in Miami. I completed my Bachelor of Arts in Architecture, so it was not accredited, at Florida International University. And then once I got to Massachusetts, I got hurt in the military during a training accident, and then found my way working in an architecture firm because that's what my education was. I started working at an architecture firm in Worcester. And then I was like, okay, so maybe I could do this, like after, 13 years in the Army, I was like, okay, maybe I could do this, maybe I'm not like totally like institutionalized into the Army. Maybe I could like do something outside. And then I started working in the firm. And then after a couple of years, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then I decided to basically focus on getting licensed. So I was really determined to get an accredited degree, finish my internship hours, and then complete all the exams. So I got like 93% of my internship hours through the firm at Worcester by working 3 years. And then I went to Rhode Island School of Design for my Master of Architecture, accredited degree this time. And then after finishing in 2020, that's where I decided, like I was already focused. I already had like a goal in mind. Like most people who go into architecture, they don't realize all the components that's required for licensing. And I was one of those people. But after working first and then understanding the path and my options, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And this is the order that I'm going to do it in based on where I'm at right now. So after I graduated at RISD, I'm like, all right, so now I need to take the exams, find a job. It was COVID in 2020. So like right away, I had to find a job because like, I needed money to support myself. Otherwise, like, I wouldn't be able to pay for food. So I found the job up in Beverly, Massachusetts. And I completed my internships. That was easy. There was like 7% left. And I started studying using the Young Architect Bootcamp. And I enrolled in that in September. And that was like totally a deep dive in pro practice. And like I was doing like, this is like after school, I burnt out, especially during COVID. because I had to change my lifestyle and everything, and like there were so many changes, and I had to finish my thesis um, while in my apartment, and I moved, and it was just crazy. And then so I burnt out. I moved again to Beverly, and then I tried to study without being like rested. So I took my first exam. I failed. I took it the week of Thanksgiving, and I used the ARE boot camp for pro practice. I did like 20 hours a week, sometimes more. I followed the Michael Rosica is the guy who created ARE Bootcamp. I followed his curriculum and like followed his suggestions, and I just like burned out because he feeds you so much information, and then like you look at the architectural handbook for professional practice. You use these ARE study programs online, like the free stuff that's offered online.
Mm-hmm.
You look at other books. You look at code. Like it's just he gives you these YouTube videos, you read contracts over and over and over. And so I was so burnt out by the time I took the test and I failed. And I was like so defeated. I felt so defeated, like deep down. And like, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, so at that point I was just like, well, for now I can look at this again later, but right now it's the holidays. So I'll just focus on being with friends and family during the holidays and like having a good time, getting rest, you know, and then I'll figure this out later. So by coincidence, my firm SV Design in Beverly, Massachusetts was starting to consider like how to increase their retention at my firm. And so like I suggested we go to Amber Books, and I started looking at Amber Books, and then my firm got a firm license for Amber Books. And the curriculum of for Amber Books is like you study for like 2 or 3 months, and then you take all 6 exams in like within 2 weeks of each other. I did that a little differently. And I guess I could explain that as I go over my slides. Is it okay if I share my screen?
But before you share your screen, I'm sorry. Before you share your screen, why don't we pause a little bit?
Okay.
Because there's something here to shine on, and it's the fact that the world fell apart, pandemic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Your entire world, I guess I would say, has fallen apart a couple of times. One is the pandemic, but before that, when you shifted from the military into society, I would say into a regular, citizen with just paying citizen doing their own regular thing, right? Without being on duty, which I would say is like a shift. So that probably also, like, it felt like your whole world fell apart because you already had consistency, right? You already had something that was predictable that you knew how to do and that you were doing. But yet, and you shifted from one state to another, and yet you felt a lot more devastated by failing that exam after being burned out than even any of those things, because you didn't emphasize any of those other shifts as something like huge, and getting your degree, right, another degree right after, right? So well, I want to first commend you on that process, but also say, it's really weird how we work as individuals, because you've already accomplished so much more. One little setback for one little exam that you burnt yourself out, literally, right? It's in the big scheme of things, but you did come out of it pretty strongly. So what did you do to be able to get over it? Because failure sucks, right? We all know it really feels horrible. What did you do to be able to get that fail, and which is like a punch in your face, and you got composure back and said, okay, we'll see. I took a breather and then came back. So what was the mindset? What do you do on that end? What do you tell yourself?
Well, yeah. So first of all, I look at, like, even if you look at the stats, you see like 52% failure rate, like 46% failure rate. Like, it's so freaking high. And like all these people take these exams, it's like you're expected to fail. If you go through all 6, you're gonna fail at least once. And I came up with this formula, right? Like, you're gonna fail if the failure rate is roughly 50%, If you take 6, you're going to fail 3. If you take 3, you're going to fail 2. If you take 2, you're going to fail 1. Like, that's what you're up against. Like, this is the beast that you're up against. Like, no one goes into these exams unprepared. Everybody is prepared that takes these exams, and they still fail. We're all really smart. We're all like going to excellent schools. Like, we like work so hard at these schools, and a lot of us are working as we're taking these exams,
Yeah.
and we're really super committed. And some people fail, some people don't. It has nothing to do, like, a lot of it's some sense kind of, sometimes it's luck, like, which version of the test do you get, like, but like that's part of the beast. That's the beast that I'm up against. If, you know
So you
expect to
pause.
fail
Yeah.
half of them.
So looking at it now, you're rationalizing the fact that that could happen, and the chances were obvious that you could fail. So
Yeah.
but you didn't just bail out. You continue doing it. So that being said,
Yeah.
you can share your screen. Let me just I don't know if
Okay.
I have to give you control, but yeah.